Hey guys, Granddaddy P here. All right, let's talk about what's going on in the WWE and what's going on in the women's division, specifically the Raw division, and what's going on with the Women's World Championship. As you know, Adam Pearce came out on the last Raw and canceled Stephanie Vaquer's title match with whomever the champion would be, which there wasn't one, of course, for Clash in Paris. We all thought he would find a way to put somebody up to challenge, at least have two challengers for the vacant title. He did not do that. Why didn't he? Well, I have my opinion, and I'm going to run this probably through to WrestleMania. Doesn't mean I'm right, but it sounds good to me. All right. Everybody wanted Io excuse me, Io Sky versus Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World Championship at Clash of Paris. I know Europe wanted that. European fans were very loud, and they were demanding those two. But WWE is not going to always give you what you want. They have storylines they need to take care of, and they think long term. I, too, would have loved to have seen Vaquer Sky. Wow. But let's look at reality. There's no champion. I also think they want, for now anyway, Stephanie McMahon came out and said they have big plans for Stephanie Vaquer. And I do believe they want her, at least in the short term and in the near future, to be that champion. They want her to be the champion. So what do? Well, you can't put Io Sky in there. Io Sky, down the road, and I believe all the way to WrestleMania, has to have the belt on her for Rhea Ripley to get her rematch. Because don't forget, Rhea Ripley has two goals. She stated it on the Raw right after Evolution. Her two goals were to beat Io Sky and to win the Women's World Championship. And those two are intertwined. They're one in the same. Rhea Ripley wants to take the title from Io Sky. And no other way. So, now, Io Sky also has a super show in Japan. On October 17th and 18th, I believe, are the dates, if I'm not mistaken. Well, they need her to go there strong, but they don't necessarily need her to go there as the champion. In Joshi wrestling, sometimes, in fact, all the time, it's about the struggle. It's about the journey. And Io Sky is on a journey to win that title back. So I believe they have sidetracked her, detoured her into another little arc. By the way, have you noticed that every single arc in the women's division in Raw goes through Io Sky? It's true. It's absolutely true. All right. That being said, they brought up Asuka. You know Asuka. Asuka and Io are part of the same faction, right? The Kabuki Warriors with Kairi Sane. Well, Asuka is turning heel, and turning heel rapidly. She doesn't like Rhea. She doesn't want Io to have anything to do with Rhea, but Io keeps having things to do with Rhea. Asuka also did a video on her personal YouTube page, obviously approved by WWE. talking about her background with Io Sky and what they did back in Stardom. And she was the senpai, and Io was the kohai. That's senior and junior. And I believe this arc is set up to run through Japan. I believe it will culminate in Japan, and then Io can come back and revisit the championship after that. What they will have is, and it will be non-canon, unfortunately, because, well, they can actually, if they want to, they can bring it into canon by showing video and so forth. But technically it's a road show and it would be non-canon. But to have a senpai kohai match between Asuka and Io Sky in Tokyo in the same stadium as Stardom. Ooh. And of course, the way those work is the kohai overcomes the senpai. Io Sky will beat her senior, Asuka. And unlike Western culture and Western ways of thought, it doesn't damage Asuka. It actually elevates her. She is the senpai who trained the kohai so well that the kohai eventually overcame her. Both are lifted up. Asuka is honored. Honored. I mean, really honored. And Io Sky is elevated. And then they go back to WWE, and they go back to Io looking for the title. It's going to be awesome. And I think they're doing that for a reason. They want to prolong Io getting the belt back. Because I believe they're trying to make this go all the way to WrestleMania. And when they get to Mania season, Io can either pick up the belt right before season, not the actual date, or even just a little bit earlier. But they got to give it some time. And I believe that's where Vaquer comes in. Who will she get to fight for the championship? Maybe Bayley. Unfortunately, Bayley will lose again. They really need to do something for that girl. They need to fix that for her down the road. I mean, she's been such a good soldier, putting everybody over at her own expense. At some point, they have to give her a run. And they probably will. But I believe that's what's going to happen. That being said, let me just throw this just a little past. If you think I'm pretty smart, I think I am, but who knows? I'm not writing for WWE. I wish I were. When they have the match at WrestleMania, which I believe they will, for Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, who do most people think is going to win that? Don't forget, Rhea Ripley has never beaten Io Sky. Rhea Ripley desperately wants to beat Io Sky and take that belt off of her. And Io Sky constantly says to Rhea Ripley, Rhea, you will never beat me. So what do you think? Does Rhea overcome Io finally at WrestleMania? I don't think so. I mean, that could happen, but what happens if that happens? Story ends. It's over. What do you do now? Rhea's climbed the mountain. She's seen the mountaintop. Where does she go next? But if Rhea loses, so much you can do with that. Io Sky is elevated to unbelievable heights. But Rhea is not lowered. She could now go dark. She can go into an area of self-reflection. She could become more sinister. You know, just all kinds of stuff for her. And Bayley. If Bayley is the one who loses to Vaquer to give her the title, just think what you can do with her. She's already hearing voices. They're making a change, there's no doubt. And I believe they're going super duper heel with her. I think she snaps. And then down the road you have two darkies. Darkies. What do I mean by that? Dark-natured. People going in the evil direction. That would be Bayley and Rhea Ripley. They could either wind up battling each other or starting a faction that makes Damage Control look super weak. We could call it Damage Control 5.0. That would be awesome. So there's plenty of stories to tell here. And I think that's why this past week they canceled the championship match. Because they didn't want Io to have to lose or win against Stephanie Vaquer. So, that's my take. I hope you like it. And I really do wish I could write for WWE. But you know what? I really wanted the Vaquer Sky match. I really did. So, what's that make me? It makes me not as smart. It makes me not as smart as the WWE creative. They know what they're doing much more than I do. But I think I put out a good plan, and maybe they're going that way. I know they're going the Asuka way. That's obvious. All you have to do is watch. What they're going to do after that, and what they're going to do with Vaquer is, well, it's up in the air. But we'll see. Anyway, that's my take. Hope you liked it. Have a great day. Granddaddy P out.